The following podcast is for mature listeners. Although looked at in a light-hearted manner, some content may be graphic and gruesome. Also, due to the host's complete lack of maturity, those easily offended will probably be offended. Hold on to your butts.
How's the new house, dude? How's the new apartment?
It's fucking nice, man. I got lots of room.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's having central air.
Oh my god. I don't know how you did it.
Dude,
you don't have to move your car every 20 minutes?
I don't have to move my car every 2 hours. I feel like I just joined the 19th century as opposed to the 21st.
I like it.
It's nice, man. It's real nice. It's real quiet area. No crime.
like Wilmington?
Nah. Yeah,
Wilmington's
exactly.
nice and quiet and peaceful.
Yeah, full of heroin and death.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm gonna have to come. I'll have to come check your place out, dude.
Yeah, come check it out, and feel free to.
How far away is it?
It's about, I'm gonna say 45 to 50 minutes one way.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Like I'm right near all the main. I'm about 3/4 of a mile away from 76. So I'm right in the heart of Manayunk, right near the colleges and stuff like that. I have all the nightlife. It's like living in Trolley. All the nightlife. Yeah, I sound like a 60-year-old man. It's like living in Trolley Square, but
less death and decay.
If the outsides of Trolley Square wasn't full of murder and mayhem.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal. Let's talk the state of the podcast right now. I wanted to do this episode for a long time. And I've been putting it off because I'm like, there's just so much research, because in the past when I do these, I like to get all the dates and all the information and it's like, I don't think anybody gives a fuck about that. I think people just care about what happened.
Listening to us jabber on about it.
That too. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that like that for some reason. So, yeah, I'm just gonna talk about the interesting shit because I think that's gonna make the podcast more interesting.
Well, yeah, we gotta hit him with the highlights.
Yeah, if I get shit wrong, because I'm not gonna treat these like these fucking individual documentaries every episode like I used to. So if I get shit wrong and you want to correct me or correct Jake. I mean,
more so correcting me than
wrong. Just fucking send us an email, or just fucking chill out, dude. It's not that important.
Yeah, quit stressing. Get off our backs.
All right, so here's the deal. I want to talk about the Golden State Killer.
Yes!
I brought this up to you. You didn't know much about it. You were pretty excited, but I kept putting it off. No, it's too big of an episode. We got to do the research. Fuck that, dude. Let's just talk about it. It's
let's get up in them guts.
All right, so the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer is this. Basically, starting in the early 1970s, right?
Okay.
This guy would break into houses. This is before he was the Golden State Killer. This is before. By the way, he goes by many names, Jake. This guy has been known as, most notably, probably the Golden State Killer. He's also known as the original Night Stalker. This was before Richard Ramirez.
Okay.
He has been known as the East Area Rapist. That's kind of how he made his bones. You know what I mean?
But it's on the West Coast. East? I guess eastern part of California.
Well, East Area, as in that's the name of the general area he was terrorizing in. I want to say around San Francisco. I don't know a whole lot about
correct me if I'm
geography.
Wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was this going on around the same time as the game show killer as well? I believe that was back in the 70s. It would have been.
Yeah, it would have been.
Roughly. Yeah, so they could have crossed paths and had a meeting of the minds.
Well, this is probably... I can't remember. Man, that was so long ago. I can't remember when the game show killer Alcala was doing his killings. But I'm sure they could have crossed paths at the conventions,
Yeah, your serial killer conventions. No
thanks. The reason I want to talk about this now, and the reason I want to talk about it for a little while, is because this case for a long time was like one of the biggest unsolved mysteries. This guy did not fuck around, Jake. Like, I think he has, here we go. He has over 120 burglaries on his record.
Okay.
More than 50 rapes that we know of.
Loves to dabble in the rape.
And 13 murders, at least.
Not gonna lie, a little disappointed with that kill count. But
yeah, well, we'll talk about that. The kills started almost out of necessity. So,
oh, okay.
For a long time, this guy was the biggest, I would say, unsolved murder. I mean, there were so many people trying to figure what the deal with this guy was, how he got away for so long, and it's actually pretty interesting. We'll get into it, how he ended up getting caught. It's kind of funny. Okay, so let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
In the beginning, humble beginnings for this guy. He started off as a peeping Tom.
Just getting his jollies off, looking at people through the window.
So that's how it started. He started as a peeping Tom, and then it escalated to burglaries.
To feed his perversions.
Yeah. The burglaries were in the beginning, and then that escalated to the rapes. And when the rape started, the way he went about it, dude, was so fucking creepy, because he didn't just go like, oh, hey, there's, I like the way that chick looks, I'm going to follow her home and rape her. Like, this dude would plot and plan. He would, some of the suspects had noted that they heard like a person on their roof, or like something on their roof that sounded like a person, maybe a couple days before the attacks.
It's a fiddler. It's the fiddler on the roof.
Yeah, but they didn't think anything of it. Dude, he would also break into people's houses and, like, hide shit for his attacks. So, like, let's say he was going to rape you, right? He might break into your house 3 days before he was going to do it and hide some string under your couch cushion.
Or, like, a cache of Reese's peanut butter cups. That way...
lure you.
I'd eat them all, and then I'd fall into a Reese's peanut butter cup coma, and then he'd just rape the shit out of me.
That's actually part of his MO, is the Reese cup technique. But yeah, like another thing he would do is he would break into people's houses while they were sleeping, while they were there, and like rearrange their furniture and then just leave, but not steal anything.
Just to fuck with you.
Just to get in people's head. Like, can you imagine if you woke up, you just moved into this new apartment. What if you woke up and came downstairs and your couch was on like the other side of the living room?
I'd freak the fuck out.
Well, my first thought would be that my place was haunted. I mean, that's where my brain would go initially. But
yeah, first you go to the spooky ghost. Second, you go to potential murder scenario.
Yeah. So, so then he starts raping these people. In the beginning, it was just like single women who were living by themselves.
Sounds like normal rape tactics.
Yeah, but then, it eventually would escalate. Like, that wasn't enough for him anymore. So then it would go to couples.
Dudes and chicks.
Yeah, but it was more of like a power play. So this guy would break into the house, right? This was his MO, okay?
Okay.
First of all, he would scout the house out, right? He knew... According to the victims, he usually seemingly knew the floor plans and the layouts of their house, like, right off the bat. Like, he did not fuck around. There was actually, for a long time, people thought that he was possibly a construction worker
or a real estate agent
who helped build these, like, neighborhoods because of how familiar he was with the insides of the houses. But really, it was because he was going ahead of time and, like, scoping the place out and hiding his little...
He's doing his rape due diligence.
Yeah, so he would break into the house, right, while they were sleeping, go to their bedroom, and then he would make a noise, and as soon as they woke up, he would shine a flashlight in their eyes. So you're fucked. At that point, I mean, I don't know if you've ever woken up and then tried to look at your phone.
Oh, yeah, it's a wrap. You can't see shit. You turn into like a mole person. Yeah.
So they wake up, there's all this confusion, right? He would grab the husband, and he would hand the wife the strings that he had hidden like under the couch or throughout the house or brought with him, usually shoestrings that he had taken from previous victims, by the way.
Ooh.
So that's how they knew. Like they were. It was very easy to tie this guy's assaults together. He had a very clear,
concise,
motive.
very concise,
and he would tell the wife to tie their boyfriend or husband up. Right. So already it's like a mind fuck. Like if you're the wife after this all happens, you have to live with the fact that you were the one that fucking tied the husband's hands up. That you're the one that took him out of the picture. So they would tie him up. There were a couple times there were cases where the wife would try to tie the knot really loose to be like, all right, listen, when this goes down, you'll slip out. It didn't fly because he would always redo it. So he would make the wife do this, like I said, just as like a mind fuck. He was always going to go and retie the knots himself, to the point that for a while he was known as the diamond knot killer because he used very like particular knots when he would tie these men up. And then he would take the women into the other room.
Okay.
Or sometimes do it right next to the husband. And you might wonder, like, well, what's to keep, even though your hands are tied, what's to keep the husband from fucking doing anything, right?
Yeah.
This fucking guy, after the husband was tied up, would go into the kitchen, grab a stack of plates and cups, and put them on the husband's back. And he would say, listen, if any of these fucking dishes break, I'm going to kill your wife, and then I'm going to kill you. So don't fucking move. And then he would take the wife. Then he would take the wife.
It's the Pottery Barn Killer.
Yeah, right? The Pottery Barn Killer. I like that. Where the fuck was that when these police were coming up with nicknames? Yeah, so then he would take the wife away, have his way with her, right? Take her back to the bedroom, throw her in there. Same deal. Like, don't fucking move. If any of these dishes break, you're fucked.
You're fucking dead, dude.
And then this dude would just hang out. He would. There were cases where he would hang out for hours after doing what he did. He cooked full meals. Like he would go in the fridge and just start like digging around.
Damn.
At almost every incident, he would dip into the beer stash. He loved Coors Light. Coors Light was like...
Fuck yeah, because he's American.
Part of his MO was if there was Coors Light in your fridge, this motherfucker was drinking it.
He's called the Silver Bullet Killer.
Yeah, right? I don't think Coors wanted their name anywhere near this, you know?
The Banquet Beer Butcher himself.
No, well, you're mixing it up. That's Miller High Life.
No, that's Coors Original.
Right?
That's called Banquet Beers.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, well, listen, you would know.
I would know.
Yeah, so he'd hang out, and he would just, like, make the place his home, and then he would slip out. Like, so he wouldn't tell these people. He'd be like, listen, if you move, I'm going to fucking kill you. But then he wouldn't be like, all right, guys, I'm out of here. Have fun. He would just, like, slip out. So there were times like these people would just be laying there, like, for hours after he had gone, afraid to move because they think they can't tell if he's, like, out fucking chilling reading a magazine or if he had gone already. Yeah, dude. Like, he would just... It was definitely like a power trip. He would just terrorize these people. And then he started getting even more brazen, dude. He was raping people a lot. Like when he was in his heyday, it was.
Well, I mean, like he's got over what you said, 50 confirmed rapes.
Yeah,
he's just out here raping bitches. What does he think he is, R. Kelly?
Well, and he didn't spread it around. Like he would terrorize. Like he'd pick like a neighborhood and hit like a couple houses in that neighborhood. So like imagine
that's fucked.
Right, like imagine if like the lady down the street got raped, and then the lady around the corner got raped, and then the lady 2 streets over got raped, and you're just sitting there like, what the fuck? Like,
it's just a matter of time before he comes in here and gets this precious boy hole of mine.
Yeah, right. You're just waiting for it. So they started these groups like where when like the husbands would go to work, all the women would get together and just hang out together. So they'd be in groups when their husbands were away, which, I mean, I don't really see what the point, because it wasn't like the husbands were protecting them. And then
no, but I understand it.
Yeah, right.
You're better off being with a group of people, like more than just two.
You definitely don't want to be by
4
yourself.
or 5 people. Yeah, it makes a little bit more sense.
So one very interesting incident, right? These developments were getting infuriated because the police are like, we got nothing on this guy. There were sightings, like they were telling people, like, just keep an eye out for anybody strange, anybody who seems out of sight, any weird cars. But he never used a car. It seemed he would always either walk or ride a
horseback.
bike.
You come by horseback.
Yeah. They'd find big piles of horse shit all over the place. No horses, but he would walk or ride a bike or find some other means of transportation to get to these attacks.
He would Uber there.
He started Uber, actually. He needed... So, at this town hall meeting, right, these people are furious. They start... One guy stands up, and he's livid, right? He's accusing the fucking police. He's saying that they're not telling him all the details, that there has to be more to it, that none of this adds up. And he says something along the lines of, if some guy breaks into my house in the middle of the night, there's no fucking way he's raping my wife. Like, I'd beat the hell out of this guy. You're not telling us something. There's no way this guy's just going into people's houses, raping the wives while the husband watches. Like, it can't be true.
Very next night, that guy's raped.
2 weeks later.
No!
2 weeks later, their house is broken into. This
guy's crying like a bitch.
This guy gets the shit kicked out of him. His wife gets raped. And, so clearly, the killer was at this town hall meeting, right?
Yeah, he was just hanging out in the back, probably sipping like a big gulp from 7-Eleven, like,
yeah,
raping your wife.
Right. Well, and that's, people, raise an eyebrow. People start going like, well, if he was there, can't we pinpoint the people that were there? But apparently it was this huge town hall meeting. Jake, he was there because he was actually one of the police.
Yes.
He was on the inside. So
he was an inside
Golden State
job.
Killer. I might as well throw it out there. He got caught, I believe, the end of 2018, and it's a man by the name of Joseph James D'Angelo. He was a former police officer. He was in the Navy, served in Vietnam.
So Navy would explain why he knows about the knots.
Right. Yeah. There you go. It also explains why it was so hard to catch this guy, because he was on the inside. So he was adapting. He would poke his nose around and find out how these investigations were going, and the police were like, well, we know this guy does this and this, and we might be able to catch him because of this.
He could switch his tactics up.
He would switch it up.
That's fucking wild, dude.
Yeah. So at some point,
so how long did, like, quote unquote, his like reign of terror last?
So he starts breaking into houses. I want to say it was like 72 is when he starts, like, with the peeping Tom and just breaking in and fucking with furniture and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the mind fuckery. Yeah.
So from 72 until I think 1986, I believe.
It's about 14, 15 years roughly. My man was...
I believe 86 is like the last, like, known incident that was tied to him.
I wonder what goes through the mind. I mean, because, like, there's still cases out there that are unsolved, like the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah.
I wonder what goes through the mind of someone that's like a serial killer when they're just like, you know what? I've had my fill. Like, because you would think that, like, most serial killers that we come across are, like, sociopaths in nature. Like, their thirst is unquenchable for murder and bloodlust and whatnot. But, like, what if they're like, you know what? I've hit 50. Like, I've lost a step. I'm looking to get my hip replaced. Maybe it's time to hang up the old murdering guns. You know what I mean?
Well, and by all accounts, that's what happened here. Because, I mean, this guy was very careful. He was, like I said, he did his research. He knew what was going on. He never drove a car to any of these attacks. Like, there were times where, like, a neighbor would catch him in the act, like leaving a house, and he would, like, jump 3 fences and be through somebody's backyard and around and just gone. Like, he knew the neighborhoods. He knew every detail of every angle of these attacks. He knew what the fuck was going on.
He was very calculated, very methodical.
Yeah, so, I mean, the thought is that eventually he got to a certain age where he didn't feel comfortable doing this safely and called it quits. But who knows, like, this fucking guy, I don't think he's saying anything. Like, he's not confessing to anything. He's not just throwing it out there. So
all right,
who knows if he was still doing shit and just changed up his tactics later on in life.
So how did they pinch him? Like, how did they figure out he was this guy?
Okay, so let's get to that. So, we talked about, he started out, when he was doing, like, the burglaries and just breaking in and moving shit around, people were calling him the Villisca Ransacker, right? So he goes from the Villisca Ransacker to the East Area Rapist. Then he starts killing people, right?
Okay.
He actually... He starts moving up the coast, I believe, of California, or down the coast. Again, I'm not great with geography. Like, when things started getting too sketchy in one area, he would kind of move a couple miles out and pick a new neighborhood or a new area that he would
just migrate to another suburb area. Yeah.
Yeah. It got to a point where he, and again, I don't have the name, I don't have the date, anything like that. I just know that it got to the point where he was going to do one of his rapings, and shit went south. Like, the chick started fighting back. He got pretty fucked up. Like, this chick, like, kind of got the better of him, and I believe she had some sort of weapon, and kind of caught him off guard with the weapon. And he kind of regrouped after this. He got away, right? They didn't catch him after this, but I think he was kind of like, I can't keep letting these people live. I have to be smarter about this. If I want to keep doing it, I have to kill these fucking people.
If I come across, like, a roadblock, I gotta be the one to kind of, like, snuff it out.
Right, exactly. So
he started killing bitches.
He started killing bitches. His first murder actually happened. It was believed to be his first murder happened when he was caught either setting up for one of these attacks or, like, about to do the deed. A couple was walking their dog, and they noticed the guy, and the husband was a military police officer. So he, I guess, approached him or, like, called out to him. They ended up having this big scuffle, and the guy, D'Angelo, shoots and kills the husband, shoots and kills the wife.
So he used a gun.
Yeah, like, he had a gun on him for most of these. He just didn't use it. Well, this time, he's caught in the act. This guy basically caught him doing it, and like I said, there's this big scuffle. He kills the wife, kills the guy. The dog lives. Don't worry about the dog. And then takes off. So that's I think considered to be one of his earliest murders. The other thing, let me back up because I wanted to tell you something when he was just doing the rapings.
Okay.
Another thing he would do, and I don't know if he would do it on purpose or he would do it like this was just like a thing that he did when he got in the zone. But it really fucked with the couples.
In the rape zone.
Dude, he would, like, while he's doing the acts, he would talk to himself in, like, this, like, shrill, high-pitched voice. There was one couple that said, like, the entire time, he just kept going, I'm gonna kill him, 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 I'm gonna kill him. There are other incidents where he would rape these women, and then, like, months later would call them and be like, you can look this up. There's actually, like, tapes of recorded phone calls where he would call the women after he had raped them and just be like, you remember what you did, you dirty fucking slut? I'm gonna fucking kill you. Like, there's one tape it'll give you fucking goosebumps, dude. He's just singing into the phone going, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you. It's fucking crazy.
What the actual fuck, dude?
Yeah. It's fucking wild. So, yeah, the burglaries escalate into rapes. The rapes escalate into murders. Like I said, it becomes, over the past couple years, it became this, like, super hot case. one woman by the name of shit. Let me look her name up, because actually, if you look her up, if you're more interested in this case, she has a lot of great information on it. Michelle McNamara. Sorry, Michelle McNamara. Jesus
McNamara.
Christ. Michelle McNamara is her name.
Mick Jagger.
It was Patton Oswalt's wife. She was actually working on a book about the Golden State Killer, and she died. I don't know if you remember. She died in her sleep a few years ago. I don't know if it was like a sleep apnea related thing, I think.
Oh, okay.
But she was in the middle of a book. I think Patton Oswalt ended up finishing the book for her, and this book was like basically detailing all this shit on the Golden State Killer. She has a bunch of like articles that she wrote on the Golden State Killer, so there's a lot of information from her. Podcasts started picking up on it. There were a lot of podcasts doing episodes on it. It got pretty hot. Well, then in 2018, the police they realized that they had some DNA that had been frozen from one of the murders, right? And by the way, this may sound fucking crazy to you. They took a lot of DNA samples, right? They took a lot of evidence from all these rapes and murders and shit.
And we're talking about semen and blood here.
Whatever it is. Most of it had been destroyed. Most of these police departments since the 70s had destroyed the evidence because they thought it was past the statute of limitation. Because burglary, there's a statute of limitation on it. Rape,
fucking kidding
there's a statute of limitation. Here's the thing, and people were super lucky that this happened. One police department, and I don't know which one it was. I don't know, but they were smart enough to go, well, wait, he was breaking into the house while they were in the bedroom, tying up the husband, and then he was moving the wife from the bedroom to another room to rape them. That's technically kidnapping. When you forcefully move someone from one room to another.
There's not a statute of limitations on that.
There's no statute of limitation on kidnapping. Which, by the way, isn't that fucking crazy? There's a statute of limitation on rape. There's a statute of limitation on attempted murder. There's a statute of limitation on breaking and entering, on burglary. But luckily, these police knew that there was not one on kidnapping, and that technically these cases could be considered kidnapping. So they held on to the evidence. So anyway, that blew my mind that most of the evidence on these cases has been destroyed. So now that they have this fucking guy, even though they took DNA samples on most of these cases, because of him, he actually was one of the main proponents in starting like a nationwide DNA base.
Wow.
Because they kept getting DNA, but they were like, we don't fucking have anything to match it to. Like, we have this guy's DNA, but what good is it? So anyway, luckily, this one police station still had all this evidence that they held on to because they were smart enough to realize, like, hey, this might come back into fucking play someday. So they get this fucking DNA that had been frozen, so it was really well preserved, right?
Yeah.
And they make a profile on one of those, like, 23andMe websites, like the genealogy websites.
Oh, are you fucking kidding me?
So they take his DNA, they submit it to this thing, they get the DNA and they join one of these ancestry sites. They still never got any DNA on this guy. He had never submitted to any of these ancestry sites. Obviously, he's not fucking stupid. But they did get one hit, right? There was one like distant relative that had whatever percentage of matching DNA that like could possibly be a target. So they find this chick, and then they go, all right, well, she's related to all of these men. And they end up with like 1,000 possible men that were related to this girl that had a DNA hit or DNA match with the known DNA from the East Area Rapist.
Yeah.
And they just start fucking dwindling down these thousands of possible relatives until they get to one guy who was the right age, who was in the right areas for all his life, who basically fit the profile.
Fuck, man.
They go to this guy's house. They go to Joseph D'Angelo's house. And they wait for him to throw his trash out. And when he throws his trash away, they got like a soda can or a bottle, something that he had used with his DNA on it. Matched it up. Perfect match to the fucking
wow, dude.
The files that they had. So that's how they catch him, man.
That is probably the first time out of the 20-some episodes that we've done that the police actually did their fucking job.
Right? That they actually like did something like, hey, that's fucking clever. Now let's not give him too much credit because most of them destroyed most of the evidence, and he is not going to be able to be tried on a lot of these fucking rapes and murders. But he has been convicted of. Let me see if I can find it. I can't find. I don't know. I don't know what he's been convicted of. I think he's been convicted of 12 of the murders.
I mean, one's enough to be convicted of one.
One will get you. But the problem is, for these other families of these people who they don't have the DNA evidence. I mean, even though they know in their hearts it was this guy, they can't get that decisive. I
mean, it's one of those things where it's like it's him, but until you hear it come out of the judge's mouth, like you're just like, oh, like what if?
Yeah, right. So the other thing that's happening now, though, is now that they've released pictures of the guy, there's descriptions. There's other women are coming out of the woodwork, like, hey, this shit happened to me, and it was that guy. So there's a lot of things that he did. So one of the stories that I heard was there was a woman who was hitchhiking to school. This guy pulls up. She thinks he's a student. He tells her he's heading that way. She gets a ride with him to the school. On the way to the school, I guess he like pulls a gun out or something. She tries to get out of the car. He crashes his car into a lemon orchard. And then when she gets out of the car to run away, smacks her over the head with something. They believe it was a tire iron. Rapes her, and then runs her head over while leaving.
Oh.
Well, she lived.
They call him the freshly squeezed killer.
Yeah, right. Luckily for her, it had rained the day before, so the ground was soft enough that when he ran her head over, she sunk. I mean, she was fucked up. I think.
But like she didn't die.
She didn't die, and she was able to now come out and be like, "Hey, that's the guy that did this to me." So there's these other crimes.
That's the guy that made me look like a melted fruit.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I didn't see the picture. I was listening to her on a podcast. So there's other. Yeah, I mean, he apparently, he had his MO. He had these crimes that were able to be tied to him because of the way they were perpetrated and carried out. But he was out there just doing whatever the fuck he wanted, dude.
Because it's the fucking 23andMe killer.
The 23andMe killer. You good at this, dude. We got to get you.
I am. I'm on top of this.
The FBI just coming up with like taglines for these people.
That's fucking bananas, dude.
Yes, that's him, man. That's the Golden State Killer. That's the East Area Rapist. The original Night Stalker.
The Vasilla Ransacker.
Yep. The Vasilla Ransacker. The Diamond Knot Killer.
The lemonade stand squeezer himself.
That's him, man. That's him.
That's fucking wild, man. It's like I said earlier, like props to the whatever county it is police department that didn't let go of that evidence because due to letting it expire due to statute of limitations. But fuck, man, that's intense for them to like trace it all out to one person and then trace it and then broad scope it to over 1,000 people and then dwindle it down to just one fucking dude.
It is crazy. I mean, it's and if that one chick hadn't uploaded her DNA to this genealogy website, he'd still be out there. He'd still be on the loose.
Shout out to that one basic bitch
who didn't know she was related to the fucking Golden State Killer.
Who's probably like, oh my god, I'm related to the Golden State Killer.
I'm curious. I don't know a lot about the guy. I don't know a lot about D'Angelo. I wonder if he had like grandkids and like a family, or if he was just some like weird single dude. Can you imagine if like your grandfather had fucking murdered all these people and you just like, him as like this funny old guy?
Yeah, but grandpa's a fucking badass.
Yeah.
Also terrified of grandpa.
Yeah, don't fuck with grandpa.
I'm just saying, like, could you imagine being his wife and then going to sleep next to him and being like, you were convicted of what? Like, oh, yeah, I used to rape and murder people.
Hey, tight. He had 3 daughters, so.
Oh, that's fucking karma. What a piece of shit he is.
Crazy, dude.
That's fucking bananas.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Here we go. He's been charged with 13 counts of murder, 13 counts of kidnapping. He faces
that's
without parole. Remember, he can't be convicted of any of the rapes because there's statute of limitations on him.
Statute of limitations. So no rapes, but he can get the murder though. Yeah. And I mean that's what it really comes down to. I mean, I know those families that suffered through that, like they're going to see some sort of justice. Like he'll be put away for life, which at this stage might only be 20 years.
It may not be because of
because of the rape, but like he'll go away forever.
Yeah, and I'm sure somebody's gonna have their way with this guy in fucking prison. 72 years old, he can't defend himself. Looks like a total fuck. I'm looking at a picture. He looks like the guy that would come out and like yell at you for fucking walking across his grass. You know what I mean?
They'll fucking Whitey Bulger him and bash his fucking face in.
Yeah, right. That's what you hope,
Yeah, that's what you gotta hope at least.
But there it is, man. There it is.
Nice.
The Golden State Killer.
That's some pretty good shit right there.
Yeah, it's wild. It's fucking wild. Hey, if you have any topics that you want us to look into or do an episode on, you can let us know at thedepthspodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on Twitter or, Jake, we're on Instagram.
We are on Instagram at the Depths Podcast or Depthscast.
Depthscast.
Right?
Yeah,
Depthscast.
You only do this every week.
I don't. And then I am on Instagram at Jake Lotz. And Paul is on Instagram at Paul Risk Kong.
Nope, change it again. I was changing it just to fuck with you. I'll probably leave it alone now. It's just Breeden Kong now.
Breeden Kong.
Breeden Kong. Easy to remember, easy to do, easy to type.
We are on Spotify. We are on the Apple Podcast app. We're on the Podcast Addict app. All you have to do is click the little box that says Apple Podcast. We're on YouTube as well.
We are on YouTube. And if you're on any of these platforms and you enjoy this even a little bit, the best thing you could do for us is just give us a rating and a little review.
That would be cool. I mean, we would really much appreciate any type of feedback and or like and subscription. That would be tight.
That'd be awesome. And tell your friends. I mean, if you have friends that are into like true crime or paranormal or whatever kind of stuff, the stuff that we cover on this podcast, let them know. Maybe they'll like us. Maybe they'll like you more for telling them about us. We can only hope.
One can only hope is right.
All right. That's it for me, Jake. You got anything else?
Yeah. Tune in next time, and hopefully nobody comes in and fucks with your furniture, a.k.a. the Feng Shui Killer.
Feng Shui Killer. You're on a fucking roll, dude.
See you guys.
Bye.